His defense of Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, for example, and his support of Holocaust revisionism, may surprise those who know Chomsky only generally as a bilious critic of U.S. foreign policy. Other commitments of his, for instance, his claim that the United States as a world power is continuing the program of Nazi Germany, and his fierce hatred of Israel, will, unfortunately, be more familiar. But either way, as Chomskyism continues to grow at home and abroad, it is clearly time for a reckoning. Any work about Chomsky must begin with linguistics, the field he remade so thoroughly by his scholarly work of the late 1950s that he was often compared to Einstein and other paradigm shifters. Those who admire this achievement, but not his politics, are at pains to explain what they take to be a disjunction between his work in linguistics and his socio-political ideas. They see the former as so brilliant and compelling as to be unarguable. In all, a massive scientific achievement, and the latter as so venomous and counterfactual as to be emotionally disturbing. In their contribution to this volume, Paul Postal and Robert Levine, linguists who have known and worked with Chomsky, take the view that the two aspects of his life's work in fact manifest the same key properties: a deep disregard of and contempt for the truth, a monumental disdain for standards of inquiry, a relentless strain of self-promotion, notable descents into incoherence, and a penchant for verbally abusing those who disagree with him. Whatever flaws have appeared retroactively, Chomsky's work in linguistics allowed him to make a transition from the university to the public arena in the mid-1960s and be taken seriously as a critic of the war in Vietnam. In a series of influential articles that appeared in the New York Review of Books and other publications, and in his American Power and the New Mandarins, he distinguished himself by the cold intellectual ferocity of his attacks on American policy. Although a generation older than most members of the New Left, he shared their eagerness to romanticize the Third World. Finding Hanoi to be a radical version of the Eternal City, Chomsky traveled there with other revolutionary tourists to make speeches of solidarity with the communists, whose heroism he believed revealed the capabilities of the human spirit and human will, and to sing songs and declaim poems. But Chomsky was unlike other anti-war intellectuals, in that he never made a cerebral return to Vietnam to rethink the consequences of the communist takeover there. As Stephen Morris shows in Whitewashing Dictatorship in Communist Vietnam and Cambodia, Hanoi has remained for him a place of the radical heart, where unblemished goodness continues to engage the absolute evil of American aggression in a freeze-frame death struggle. He continued to serve the Vietnamese Revolution after Hanoi under the guise of re-education, sent hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese to Hanoi's Gulag, relocated up to 2 million to the new economic zones, a jungle version of its Soviet patron Siberia, and forced tens of thousands of boat people to take their chances on the open sea. Confronted with evidence of these homicidal policies, Chomsky, as Morris points out, rushed to defend Hanoi. For him, there were only two questions to be asked: whose interests were being served by all these negative reports, and how could these reports be disproved? Morris shows that Chomsky took exactly the same stance when word of the Khmer Rouge's killing fields arrived in the West. Unlike some of his comrades who had joined him in regarding Pol Pot as a revolutionary hero, and who had second thoughts as the bodies accumulated, Chomsky held fast to the radical party line, initially trying to minimize the deaths in Cambodia, a few thousand, and comparing those killed to the collaborators who were executed by resistance movements in Europe at the end of World War II. Writing in The Nation in 1977, Chomsky practiced his own version of killing the messenger by savagely attacking the witnesses, some of them fellow leftists who brought out news from Phnom Penh of the developing Holocaust. In 1980, when it was no longer possible to deny that some 2 million of Cambodia's 7.8 million people had indeed perished at the hands of the Khmer Rouge, Chomsky, still in denial about the communist rulers, suggested that Cambodia's problems might have been caused by a failed rice crop. As late as 1988,